Ethan stared out at the rain beyond the window, his emotions a tangled web. He let out a sigh and muttered to himself, life, huh? It's really hard to figure out. After battling cancer for over 6 months, I can't take it anymore. Since the birth rate is so low, I've decided to give up treatment and die for a bit, go enjoy the afterlife. And wouldn't you know it, I sailed through and got dropped off right at the bridge of helplessness. I saw my new family waiting to be born into. A crippled dad, a mom with cerebral palsy. 1 pill in the morning, 1 at night, and next year we'll have a little baby. You've got to be kidding me. With a start like that, I'd rather just stay dead. I protested, there are so many ghosts waiting to be reincarnated, how come I get to skip the line? Madame Meng gave me a side eye, don't show off here, or you'll make the other ghosts jealous. Here, it's all thanks to that kid. A picture popped into my head. My ex-boyfriend, first thing every morning, burning incense and praying to every deity he could think of. Gods and spirits above, please bless her and let her reincarnate soon. 1. Ethan Jung, you're a pain in the afterlife. I'm dead, and you still won't let me rest. The picture vanished, and Madame Meng ladled a bowl of soup for me. It's just that this young man is too sincere. He begged for you to have the right to reincarnate first. Here, drink the soup. I took the bowl, but I smelled a pungent odor. The legendary Mengpa soup smelled like some kind of awful concoction. Madame Meng gave an awkward smile, sorry, I've only been on the job for a few years, and my skills are still developing. Just drink it down. I had to drink this terrible soup and be reincarnated into such a terrible family. I bit my lip and asked in a low voice, can I change my family? Madame Meng's face darkened, reincarnation slots are so tight. You've already skipped the line, don't push your luck. 1 pill in the morning, 1 at night, and next year we'll have a little baby. The voices of my future parents rang in my ears again. No way. I'd be a fool to be reincarnated there. I don't want to go. Hearing my words, Madame Meng said in disbelief. The birth rate is so low, if you don't reincarnate now, you'll be waiting in line for years. It's because the birth rate is low that I'm contributing to the death rate. I said firmly, I'm not going. Then don't regret it. With the birth rate in the human world now, you'll have to wait at least 8 or 9 years. Madame Meng warned me one last time. But my mind was made up. My last life was so miserable. It's not too much to ask for a good reincarnation in my next life, is it? 2. After refusing to reincarnate, I was sent to the underworld. The underworld these days was also overcrowded. Other ghosts told me that houses used to be assigned. Now, you have to buy them yourself. Luckily, Ethan Jiang burned a few $100 billion for me. I was financially independent in the underworld, and I didn't even have to work. This life was much more comfortable than in the human world. But after only a few days, black and white impermanents rushed into my house in a panic, Sophia Song. I was so startled that I almost fell. What's wrong? I'm a law-abiding ghost. Oh, living the good life, are we? Whitey looked around my house for a while, then suddenly said angrily. It's all your fault. King Yama is furious. 3. King Yama is angry? That's bad, he won't want to see me, will he? Wait a minute, I'm already a ghost now, what am I afraid of him for? Also, why is he angry? I asked in a low voice, what's wrong with King Yama? Blackie was more gentle and sighed. Your friend, Ethan Jiang, has prayed to all the gods in heaven and earth to get you to reincarnate early, which is how he got his wish. But now you don't want to reincarnate, so this wish can't be fulfilled. The gods are very distressed, so King Yama sent us 2 to resolve this matter. I said casually, there are so many ghosts in line, just find one to take my spot. Whitey yelled. You make it sound so easy. People wished for you, where will the gods put their faces if you give up your spot? If you don't tell, and I don't tell, and he doesn't tell, how would Ethan Jiang know? I suggested, how about I go give him a dream and tell him that I've already reincarnated? That would solve it. Whitey rolled up his sleeves, Sophia Song, you're pretty smart. I chuckled, thank you for the compliment. Compliment you, my foot. Whitey flicked me on the forehead. What's yours is yours, there's no such thing as faking it. Ethan Jiang, you're really making trouble for me. I instantly stopped laughing and looked at the gentle Blackie, choking back tears. Before I died, I fought cancer for more than 6 months, I was so skinny and frail, and I was in excruciating pain every day. My parents cheated on each other and divorced when I was 3 years old. They hated each other and saw me as a burden, neither of them wanted to take care of me. They probably don't even know that I'm dead. In my next life, I just want a normal family, either healthy or with happy parents. But look, normal, healthy, happy, not one of them. If I had known this, I would have rather hung on up there. 4. Playing the victim really works. But I really am miserable. The 2 black and white impermanence ghosts whispered and murmured behind my back. When they came back, Blackie coughed lightly. We've discussed it and come up with a solution. I quickly asked, what solution? You go to the human world, find that friend of yours, and get him to give up his wish. I froze. Go to the human world? Will King Yama agree? Whitey said impatiently, why are you making such a fuss? Anyway, King Yama only told us to solve it, he didn't say how to solve it. As long as it's solved in the end, that's all that matters. Were you a comedian in your past life? My lips twitched. Whitey raised his hand, ready to flick my forehead again. I dodged nimbly and didn't waste any more words. Okay, I'll go to the human world. But I took only a few steps before turning back. How do I get to the human world? Whitey rolled his eyes and patted Blackie. Blackie waved his sleeve. Suddenly, my whole ghost floated up. Before I disappeared, he reminded me. Remember, only he can see you. Tomorrow night at 12 o'clock, we'll bring you back. A day and a half, that's enough. 5. A flash of white light, and I appeared in Ethan Jong's house. The bedroom door wasn't closed, and I could see him lying in bed at a glance. Why is he sleeping in the middle of the day? I walked straight in. Ethan Jong, wake up. He slowly opened his eyes. I'd already imagined the scene of him being scared out of his wits. But he calmly reached out and touched me. I guess I really had too much to drink. Too much to drink? Why are you drinking for no reason? I dodged his hand. Ethan Jong's eyes were hazy. Sophia, it's so good that you can come see me in my dreams. Didn't you go to reincarnate? He paused, then laughed. Look at my brain, it's only been a week since you left, how could you reincarnate so quickly? I couldn't be bothered to waste words with him, remembering my mission in the human world. Ethan Jong, I don't want to reincarnate, so don't make this wish, okay? Hey! He fell asleep again in a daze, muttering something in his mouth. I leaned closer to listen. He was actually calling my name, saying he missed me. 6. I'm dead, why would he miss me? Although he was the only one who was with me when I was fighting cancer. But he's my ex-boyfriend. I sat on the edge of the bed, waiting for him to sober up. Speaking of which, my breakup with Ethan Jong was very childish. One day, we had an argument, and neither of us would give in. In a fit of anger, I said break up, he didn't try to save it, and I didn't look back. And that was it, we lost contact. Until 2 years later, when I was diagnosed with lung cancer. I found out too late, it had metastasized, and I couldn't even have surgery. I told my parents the bad news, and they didn't believe me. They said I was just trying to get money, trying to find ways to get their attention. I flipped through my address book, and Ethan Jong's number hadn't been deleted yet. He answered my call and showed up by my side as soon as possible. He said he would always be with me. I thought that even the best people wouldn't selflessly take care of their ex-girlfriend for so long. So I didn't want to burden him anymore. The day I decided to give up treatment, he smoked cigarettes in the hospital stairwell all night. Then he said to me, if you don't want to be treated, then don't be. The sooner you go, the sooner you're free. Without the support of medication, I died a little more than half a month after being discharged from the hospital. I also thought that he would be just as relaxed after I died. But now it seems that things aren't as I thought. 7. I don't know how long it was, but it got dark. A ringtone sounded in the room. I looked around and finally found a cell phone under Ethan Jong's pillow. It was mine. The caller ID was my dad. That's right, he doesn't even know his daughter is dead yet. I didn't plan to answer it. But Ethan Jong heard the sound and turned over groggily. Our eyes met. His hand trembled and he pressed the answer button. Ethan Jong's pupils dilated, and he stared at me blankly. I gave him a smile. He suddenly slapped himself and then curled up on the head of the bed in a panic, unable to say a word. He looked terrified. Sophia Song, where the hell have you been? Uncle Zhou's son is back from abroad, so hurry up and meet him. If you delay your brother's business, I'm not done with you. My dad's voice broke the silence on the phone. I handed the phone to Ethan Jong. Tell him I'm dead. Ethan Jong swallowed and said tremblingly, why don't you tell him yourself? I moved closer to him, because only you can see me, can hear my voice. He took the phone with trembling hands and turned on the speakerphone. Sophia Song passed away a week ago. As expected, my dad didn't believe it. Who the hell are you? Let Sophia Song answer the phone. How did I raise such a daughter? She can even tell lies like this. Ethan Jong glanced at me and continued. She's really gone. If you don't believe me, you can go to the cemetery and see. Her grave is at. Before he could finish, my dad hung up. I knew it would be like this. He doesn't believe me, doesn't believe I'm sick, and doesn't believe I'm dead. 8. Ethan Jong handed the phone back to me. I held his still trembling hand. What are you shaking for? I'm not going to eat you. So it's true, you're really real? He asked. I laughed. Of course not, I told you I'm a ghost, and only you can see me. He held my hand back. I mean, you're real, you're back, right? Our skin touched, soft and real. Ethan Jiang squeezed my hand and pulled me into his arms. Sophia, why are you back? Do you miss me too? Through a layer of cloth, I could clearly feel his heart pounding. I hurriedly interrupted his sentimentality. I didn't come back because I missed you. I came back to tell you not to pray to the gods and make wishes anymore. I don't want to reincarnate. His back stiffened, and he didn't reply to my words. But he said, so you're still going to leave? I forcibly separated from him. Of course, I'm dead, so I can't stay here. Your wish gave me a priority reincarnation slot, but you don't know, the birth rate is too low now. Even though I skipped the line, the family I'm going to be reincarnated into is too terrible, so terrible that I'd rather continue to suffer in the hospital. 9. Ethan Jiang's eyes dimmed. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Looking at his remorseful expression, I comforted him. It's okay, you were doing it for me, you can go pray to the gods again and tell them that you don't want me to reincarnate. With my mission accomplished, I got up to leave. But how do I get back? Oh right, Blackus said that they would take me away when the 2 days were up. So I can't go back yet? Are you leaving now? Ethan Jiang hurriedly got out of bed. At this moment, my phone rang again. It was my mom. I opened the chat page and clicked on the voice messages she sent. What's wrong with you? Didn't we agree that you'd get married as soon as Uncle Zhou's son came back? Are you going back on your word now? Watch your mouth, you dare to say you're dying? Don't you know words have power? Hurry up and get ready to meet him, and get the betrothal money back first. Your sister needs to buy a car next week. Although my parents divorced more than 20 years ago and saw each other as a stain on their lives, they had a surprisingly tacit understanding when it came to certain things. One was for their son's business, and the other was for their daughter's car. Their common goal was to marry me, the stain of their lives, to a stranger I had never met. 10. Ethan Jiang reached out and turned off the screen. Then he grabbed my shoulders. Sophia Song, when did you agree to marry him? I thought for a moment. Oh, probably about a year after I broke up with you. I just thought it didn't matter who I married since I was done with you anyway. Who knew that person would be studying abroad and never graduate? He only came back after I was already dead. Ethan Jiang bit his lip, his warm breath brushing against me. I thought you didn't want me anymore. I frowned. How much did you drink? He straightened up and ran to the bathroom to rinse his mouth. I followed him. Ethan Jiang, have you been like this these past few days? He looked through the mirror but didn't see my reflection. He probably realized that I was a ghost. So he turned around to face me. Yeah, I missed you so much, I couldn't sleep. But I couldn't sober up either, so I could only numb myself with alcohol. My heart ached as I met his gaze. When I was alive, I was too stubborn to admit anything. I didn't know until I died that if I didn't speak up, I'd regret it even as a ghost. Ethan Jiang came to me again, and when I looked up, I was lost in his pupils. I couldn't see myself, but I could see his bottomless love. I tiptoed and kissed his eyes. Ethan Jiang, you have to live well. 11. At this critical moment, the phone rang nonstop again. My parents were calling me one after another. They just wanted me to go on a blind date, preferably meet today and get a marriage certificate tomorrow. But I was really dead, and they wouldn't believe it no matter what. Go meet them and show them my death certificate and cremation certificate. Ethan Jiang buried his head in my neck and grunted in a muffled voice. Then he asked, when are you leaving? 12 o'clock tomorrow night. It's already tonight. He sighed in frustration. Okay, go to sleep, go meet my parents during the day. As I spoke, I texted them to confirm the location. Ghosts don't need to sleep. That night, I watched Ethan Jiang's sleeping face in the dark night. It was like a lifetime ago. And I regretted it so much. My parents received the message and thought I had agreed to meet Uncle Zhou's son. They brought Uncle Zhou's family over. But they were greeted by Ethan Jiang, whom they had never seen before. Uncle Zhou's face darkened, and my dad lost face. Who are you? Where's Sophia Song? Ethan Jiang cut straight to the point and put my death certificate and cremation certificate on the table. I'm Sophia Song's boyfriend. I told you when you called yesterday, Sophia Song passed away a week ago. The air was silent for a few seconds, and my mom sneered. That dead girl is really getting out of hand. She's really thorough, even faking these certificates. They still didn't believe it. Compared to my parents, who were supposed to be closer than blood, the Zhou family were clearly normal people. They took the certificates and looked at them carefully. Uncle Song, this should all be real. My dad directly denied it. Impossible. That dead girl is clearly alive and well. She's just cheap, she's been cheap since she was a child. Uncle Zhou slammed the table. Old Song, that's your own daughter, are you talking like a human being? My mom hurriedly smoothed things over. Oh, don't be angry, old Zhou, you don't understand our daughter, she's very opinionated. She's very disobedient, she never listens to her parents. Look, she said she would meet people, But now she suddenly doesn't want to, isn't that cheap of her? As she spoke, she glanced at Ethan Jeong. Look, she doesn't even know where she found this wild man, it's just ruining the family reputation. But don't worry, old Zhou, if this girl marries into your family, she will definitely be obedient, we will never interfere. 12. Have you said enough? Crash. Ethan Jeong picked up a wine glass and smashed it on the ground. My dad refused to be outdone and smashed a bottle of wine. What the hell are you doing? You're not good for anything after being with Sophia Song for so long. I don't care who you are, who are you to Sophia Song, tell that cheap girl to get over here right now. Ethan Jeong's eyes were bloodshot, and he shouted. What are you? You say Sophia Song is alive and well? Then tell me, when was the last time you saw her? My parents looked at each other and couldn't say anything. Want to see her? Then I'll tell you, she's standing right next to me, but you can't see her. I was dumbfounded and tugged on his sleeve. No, why are you saying this? He patted me comfortingly. It's okay, they can't see you anyway. Seeing that he was really talking to a bunch of air, my parents were scared and incoherent. You kid, stop pretending to be a ghost here. Sophia Song. Get the hell out here. Ethan Jeong sneered and took out some things and put them in front of them. These are her hospital records and examination reports from the past 6 months. No one would joke about their own life and death. She's really dead. You two are really the worst parents in the world. With all the evidence presented, my parents had to believe it. My mom rushed to Ethan Jeong and grabbed his collar. Are you still lying to me? The last time I saw her, she was alive and kicking. Ethan Jeong frowned and pushed her away. When was the last time? As far as I know, you haven't met her once since she was diagnosed. My mom shook her head in disbelief and turned to flip through the dense reports. She murmured to herself, no, it can't be, how could that girl die, how could she die? The last time. She counted on her fingers, the last time, has it really been that long? 13. My dad held my death certificate in his hand, his pupils shaking. She's really dead? Ethan Jeong finally left a string of addresses. Her tomb is here, go or not is up to you. The Zhou family stood up and said coldly. Old Song, you're really something. Not to mention that your daughter has a boyfriend and you still want my son to go on a blind date with her. You didn't know your daughter was sick for so long, and you don't care even after she died. What parents? You're not even worthy of being human. Don't ever come to me again, I find it unlucky. The family left in anger. Seeing the address written by Ethan Jeong, Uncle Zhou said to his son. Write down this address, we'll go see this girl later, she must have suffered with parents like that. I smiled bitterly and said to Ethan Jeong. See, even strangers are more humane than my parents. So the blind date failed, and the betrothal money was gone. And the business should be gone too. My parents were anxious and tried to persuade them to stay. Old Zhou, we can talk things over. We've been friends for so many years, how can we stop seeing each other because of a small thing? Uncle Zhou kicked my dad without mercy. A small thing? You still think this is a small thing? Get out. His son looked at me as he passed Ethan Jeong. I was startled. Can you see me? He raised his eyebrows mysteriously and looked at Ethan Jeong again. He didn't say a word and left. I was stunned for a moment, then turned to look at Ethan Jeong, waving my hands. He can see me, he can actually see me. Ethan Jeong also looked at his disappearing figure in surprise. Then he said to me, does he have Yin-Yang eyes? Yin-Yang eyes? Ethan Jeong, didn't you never believe in this before? I teased. He looked at me deeply. Sophia, you're standing next to me, is there anything in the world I don't believe in? That's right. Ethan Jeong spoke to the air again. My parents were completely terrified. You still dare to play tricks here. I patted Ethan Jeong. Say, you're so scared, are you afraid that Sophia Song will come to your door in the middle of the night? 14. Ethan Jeong repeated my words verbatim. My dad said stubbornly, afraid of her? I haven't done anything wrong, what's there to be afraid of? Your own parents haven't done anything, isn't that the biggest wrong? My mom screamed. Shut up. It's all your fault for ruining the deal we had already made. You really are the wild man that Sophia Song raised. Even now, even if I'm dead, they have to blame me for all this. I couldn't listen anymore and picked up a wine glass and threw it on the ground. The 3 living people were far from the table. My parents realized something and stared at the direction of the wine glass with pale faces. Ethan Jeong said faintly, I told you Sophia Song is here, but you didn't believe me. I simply smashed another glass. Look, she's angry. Ethan Jeong added fuel to the fire. My parents couldn't stay any longer and ran away. They bumped into a waiter while running. Seeing how scared they were, I became playful. Ethan Jeong, you go home first, I'm going to scare them at home. I said, rubbing my hands together. Ethan Jeong hurriedly grabbed my sleeve. Sophia, stay with me, okay? There's not much time left. I was stunned. Yes, there wasn't much time left. In less than 10 hours, I'd be gone. My heart softened, and I said softly, okay. Where could a person and a ghost go? After thinking about it, I asked Ethan Jiang to take me to the funeral supplies store. This. I want all these, burn them all for me. Even after death, you can't escape the temptation of shopping. There are many things that the underworld doesn't have, and it all depends on the people on Earth to burn them. Especially in winter, you have to burn a few thick quilts. Ethan Jiang agreed to everything. When paying, the boss was stunned. Young man, are you buying wholesale? Ethan Jiang said expressionlessly, these are all the things my girlfriend wants down there. The boss was trembling and didn't dare to speak. He hastily collected the money and quickly sent the person out of the store. 15. Who else can have my treatment, being able to come to their own grave after death? Ethan Jiang carried 2 burlap sacks and found my tomb in a sneaky manner. I directed him to burn all the things. I could already imagine how luxurious my house in the underworld would be. As I was happily thinking, I suddenly heard chattering voices behind me. It was actually my parents. And my half-brother, Owen Song, and my half-sister, Clara Chin. The 4 of them were rarely together. It's all Sophia Song's fault. Because of her, my car is gone. I told my friends that we were going on a road trip next week. Where do I put my face? That's right, because of her, my company lost such a big deal. She died and she's still going against me. My mom rubbed her hands together. That cheap girl can't rest in peace even after she's dead. My dad was carrying a shovel. I'll dig up your grave. Let's see if you dare to scare me again. Dig up my grave? Ethan Jiang's face became even more fierce, and he stood in front of my grave. You dare to touch her? You're Sophia Song's boyfriend? I didn't expect that dead girl to have it so good when she was alive. Clara Chin stared straight at him. Handsome guy, are you free tonight? That's too much. Flirting with my man in front of me. As a ghost, I don't have to worry about the consequences of my actions. I directly pushed her from behind. Who pushed me? Clara Chin turned her head suddenly and shouted. My mom swallowed. It must be that dead girl. My dad raised the shovel and was about to smash it on my tombstone. Damn it, go to hell and stay there. Ethan Jiang was furious and reached out to snatch his shovel. But he was outnumbered, and the other 3 swarmed up and pulled at him. Clara Chin also took the opportunity to grope him. I clenched my fists and punched my dad in the stomach. He wailed and his face turned pale. Then, I grabbed Clara Chin's hair. She screamed and was also terrified. But her mouth was very stubborn. Sophia Song. I'm not afraid of you. 16. I smiled slightly, let go of her hair, and breathed in her ear. Ah. Clara Chin was scared out of her wits. Mom, let's get out of here. Sob. Owen Song didn't know what happened and sneered. Heh, coward. As he spoke, he continued to drag Ethan Jiang and said to my dad, what are you doing, Dad? Hurry up and dig up this bitch's grave. My dad clutched his stomach, shook his head, and raised the shovel again, not forgetting to cheer himself up. Dead girl, I'm afraid of you? Ethan Jiang didn't know where he got the strength from, knocked Owen Song to the ground with his elbow and rammed into my dad. My dad had a tool in his hand and threatened, you kid, get away from me. Be careful, I'll hit you with a shovel and send you down there to accompany that dead girl. Come on, hit me on the head if you have the guts. Ethan Jiang's eyes were bloodshot. At this moment, he seemed to really want to die. I couldn't care about anything else and rushed over to hug his waist. Ethan Jiang. Don't be impulsive, please don't be impulsive, let's go home now, isn't it just a grave? I don't care. I knew my dad wouldn't really do anything to him. But with him in this state, I didn't dare to bet that he wouldn't be provoked and really follow me. But Sophia, I care. He suddenly lowered his head and looked at me with red eyes. My dad couldn't wait any longer and went around Ethan Jiang and smashed it on my tombstone. What are you doing? A shout came from not far away. It was actually Uncle Zhou's family rushing over. Seeing my dad's actions, Uncle Zhou instantly understood. Old Song, you. My dad simply didn't hide it. What the hell is it to you? My own daughter. You know she's your daughter. She's already dead, can't you have a little conscience and do something good for yourself? Uncle Zhou said angrily. Owen Song must have been thinking about his ruined business deal, his face darkening. He egged on. Dad. What are you wasting words on with them? My dad really listened and continued to smash the tombstone without regard. But what he didn't know was that a shovel couldn't dig up a grave. He frantically tried for a while, but my tombstone didn't even get a scratch. Uncle Zhou wasn't in good health, so he told his son to stop him. But the man just curled his lips and smiled silently. The next second, a police siren sounded in the distance. 17. My dad's movements froze. Then he turned around and roared, who the hell called the police? No one answered. Owen Song stammered, I've been watching. No one took their phone out. Clara Chin was still crying. Wah, it must be Sophia Song. It's Sophia Song. I told you to go home quickly, but you wouldn't listen. My mom comforted her, but she was also terrified. Soon, several policemen escorted my dad into the police car. Let go of me. This is my daughter's grave. The police car sped away, leaving the three of them dumbfounded. The Zhou family lit incense at my grave and left in a hurry. Only that mysterious man raised his eyebrows at me again. Who exactly was he? 18. Mom, let's go quickly. Clara Chin's voice brought me back to my senses. Ethan Zhang's emotions were much more stable. I let go of him and looked at Owen Song, whom I hadn't scared yet. I couldn't let him off. I swung my arm and slapped him on the face. His already pale face instantly had a bright red handprint. Owen Song didn't stand firm and fell to the ground, gasping for breath but unable to say a word. Clara Chin was even more distraught. She pushed away her mom and left, crawling and scrambling. I was done playing. I took Ethan Zhang's hand, and we drove away together. Halfway there, I suddenly saw a group of people gathered not far ahead. I quickly had Ethan Zhang stop the car. Go see what happened. Ethan Zhang said helplessly, you really can't change your habit of watching a show. Aren't you curious? I asked. He coughed lightly and parked the car on the side of the road. We got out of the car and squeezed into the crowd. It turned out that a pregnant woman was in labor and waiting for an ambulance. But when I clearly saw the woman's face, I was stunned. 1 pill in the morning, 1 at night, and next year we'll have a little baby. The image in my mind matched the woman's face in front of me. It was her. The one who almost became my mother in my next life. 19. I stood there blankly until the sound of an ambulance came. Everyone made way. Ethan Zhang tugged on my sleeve. Sophia, move aside, the doctor is here. A big guy next to me widened his eyes. Hey buddy, who are you talking to? Ethan Zhang realized, nobody. Then he pulled me away. I watched as the woman was carried onto a stretcher. I hurriedly had Ethan Zhang drive and follow the ambulance. He was puzzled. Why? She's the family I almost reincarnated into. I don't know why, but I had a strange feeling in my heart. Maybe it's because she almost became my blood relative. Ethan Zhang gripped the steering wheel tightly, his fingertips white. He glanced at me, wanting to say something, but didn't. I didn't think much and urged him to drive. As if he had made a big decision, he stepped on the gas and followed the ambulance. But not long after arriving at the hospital, I sneaked into the operating room and heard the doctors discussing. The woman's baby had already stopped developing 2 months ago. I know this woman. She has congenital cerebral palsy, and her husband is disabled and has some mental problems. Neither of them has been educated and they don't know anything. They probably never had a prenatal checkup, and the baby's heartbeat stopped a long time ago but they didn't know. The heartbeat had stopped a long time ago. Since it was already a stillborn, why did they want me to reincarnate there? I couldn't understand. And I didn't want to think about it anymore. 20. 12 o'clock was getting closer and closer. I leaned in Ethan Zhang's arms, counting down the time second by second. A day and a half wasn't enough, not enough at all. While waiting for the farewell, I learned from the internet that my dad had been detained for half a month for intentionally defacing someone else's grave. Because the case was novel and there was a relationship of a biological father and daughter, it quickly spread across the internet. Without exception, netizens were criticizing my dad. And they followed the clues to dig out my mom. The two of them were caught in a storm of public opinion and would probably be the talk of the town for a long time. I had no interest in these things. I looked up at the person beside me. Ethan Zhang, you promise me, live well. Thinking of his heart-wrenching state today, I was really scared. He trembled as he held my hand, and tears fell on my wrist. Sophia, you must live well, otherwise, I won't see you in the underworld. I had to threaten him. Saying goodbye forever is the hardest thing in the world to accept. I buried my head in his chest, and great pain welled up in my heart. I didn't want to leave. Suddenly, a beam of white light flashed in the room. Black and white impermanence appeared out of thin air. I looked up at the clock, and the hands pointed to 12 o'clock. How punctual. Sophia Song, it's time to go back, Blackie called me. I reluctantly let go of Ethan Zhang's hand. Ethan Zhang, I have to go. Sophia. His eyes were wet, and he just stared at me with tears in his eyes. I really couldn't resist. But I had to go. Blackie waved his sleeve, and white light flashed again. Why are you still here? Along with a sigh of surprise, I found that I hadn't left. Whitey looked at Blackie in disbelief. What's wrong with you? Why can't you go back? I'll try again. Blackie waved his sleeve again. White light flashed again, but we still didn't leave. What's going on? Whitey exploded. Blackie also panicked. My lord taught me this way, why isn't it working? All my feelings of saying goodbye to Ethan Jiang were wasted. I wiped away my tears and asked, "What are you two doing?" Whitey was so anxious that he jumped. "You quickly think of a way. It'll be over if Little Black finds out." "Little Black?" I was stunned. "What Little Black? Isn't Little Black here?" "Don't tell me, you're not Little Black." "Hey, you guys." A strange voice came from the room. Following the source of the voice, I saw a man in black leaning against the table. It was that son of Uncle Joe who could see me and had yin-yang eyes. 21. I was dumbfounded. "You, how did you get in here?" He chuckled. "A piece of cake." "Who exactly are you?" He could see me, he could call the police without anyone knowing. And he could come here without any obstacles. He didn't answer my question but moved a chair and sat down. He looked fiercely at the two black and white impermanence ghosts. Blackie walked up to him timidly. "Big brother." "Big brother?" The man swept his leg, and Blackie knelt down firmly. "I just let you fill in for my shift to collect souls, but you're very capable. You two have really grown some skills." Whitey said guiltily, "You, don't get angry, we're just helping them." "Helping them? If King Yama finds out, he'll send you two to the 18th level of hell." As he spoke, his eyes stopped on Ethan Jiang. "Mr. Jiang, people can't come back to life, you should have accepted it long ago." Ethan Jiang clenched his fists. "I'm sorry, I just wanted to see her one last time." My mind was a mess. "Ethan Jiang, what's going on here?" The man crossed his legs. "Let me introduce myself, I'm Black Impermanence, my name in the human world is Zane Zhou." "Sophia Song, you should go." "No, you shouldn't have come to the human world at all." My mind was even more messed up. You're the real Black Impermanence?" The fake Little Black kneeling on the ground lowered his head in shame. "Big brother, I was wrong." Zane Zhou snorted and looked at me. "Sophia Song, use your brain to think, the gods don't have KPIs, and they're not free every day, getting anxious about a wish from a tiny human." 22. So, there were no gods who were anxious because I didn't reincarnate. There was no priority reincarnation slot. And there was no King Yama who sent black and white impermanence to find me because of this? Even this black impermanence was fake. And there was the pregnant woman whose baby had stopped developing long ago. With all the clues connected, I looked up at Ethan Jiang. He was also looking at me. "Ethan Jiang, what did you do?" Zane Zhou also sneered. "You all say it, what did you do together?" Ethan Jiang smiled bitterly and looked at the ghosts in the room. "Sophia, the day you left, I was indeed burning incense and praying to the gods. I wanted to beg heaven, beg the gods, to let you last a few more days. But I didn't find any gods, but I found white impermanence, who came to take your soul. I asked him if he could not take you away. He said no, because your life had ended and you had to go." Speaking of this, Whitey sighed. "This ghost of mine is kind-hearted. I can't bear to see a devoted person lose their love, but there's no way. It's all recorded in the book of life and death. When the time comes, you have to go, but I'm really kind-hearted." Zane Zhou kicked him impatiently. "Get to the point." Whitey immediately said, "So I came up with this plan to give Sophia Song a legitimate reason to come to the human world and let the two of them meet again, one person and one ghost." Zane Zhou scoffed. "Do you think that's a great idea?" "I think it's great." "Great, my foot." Zane Zhou was so angry that his chest heaved. "They met, but what then? Sophia Song will experience saying goodbye for the second time when she leaves? Experiencing the same pain twice, you're really something." Ethan Jiang was already in tears. I hurriedly went over and hugged him. "Ethan Jiang, don't cry. Sophia, I really couldn't believe it when I saw you again. I didn't expect white impermanence to really help me see you again. Sophia, I really miss you, I don't want you to go, I don't want to leave you." He hugged me tightly, in great pain. Zane Zhou punched them angrily. "Look, this is what you guys did." 23. The clock pointed to 1 o'clock. Ethan Jiang's emotions gradually stabilized. Zane Zhou was actually a good ghost at heart. He just quietly waited for us to say our final goodbyes. I also became curious about his background. "Your Black Impermanence, why did you become Zane Zhou in the human world?" He said calmly, "I was tired of staying in the underworld, so I wanted to be a human in the human world." "You actually came to be a human with memories?" I asked. He coughed lightly and sniffed. "Oh, Madame Meng's soup is too hard to drink, I can't drink it." "I see." Zane Zhou looked at the time. "Okay, Sophia Song, you really have to go." Hearing this, Ethan Jiang's grip on my hand tightened. I knew he was reluctant. I was also reluctant. But people and ghosts are different, I had to leave. "Ethan Jiang, listen." I pried open his fingers. "Listen, live well, I'll wait for you." He was about to cry again. "Wait for me." I slowly turned my head and stared at Zane Zhou. "Can I wait for him in the underworld?" Zane Zhou rolled his eyes speechlessly. "Stop talking nonsense, come with me." After speaking, he waved his sleeve, and white light flashed again in the room. Ethan Jiang staggered and rushed over. But this time, I really left. But we all heard Zhang Zhou say, sent to the human world without authorization, Sophia Song is punished for not being allowed to reincarnate for 100 years. 24. Zhang Zhou took us back to the underworld. But he didn't let me go home. Instead, he grabbed the three of us and took us to the bridge of helplessness. Madame Meng had just cooked a pot of awful food. She looked up and saw the scene, stunned. It wasn't until we walked up to her that she reached out to say hello. Hi, little black, long time no see, how's it going in the human world? What brings you here? Zhang Zhou twitched his lips. Explain it, about you colluding with these two guys? Madame Meng scared. Look at what you're saying, how can you call it colluding? I'm helping them. I realized that Madame Meng had also participated in this. That's right, after all, she was in charge of the reincarnation process. Zhang Zhou's face darkened. Helping them, my foot. I'm telling you, this matter will stay dead in your hearts, don't let any other ghost know about it. I nodded repeatedly. Zhang Zhou spent a lot of time criticizing us. His mouth was dry, and he almost drank Madame Meng's soup. He hurriedly left this pot 8 feet away, waved his sleeve, and went to the human world. And I will stay in the underworld, guarding the things that Ethan Jiang and I burned together, spending the long years. But I knew that one day I would wait for him. We will eventually reunite,